Most business owners are the single biggest bottleneck in their own business, and they have no idea how much it's costing them. Every decision runs through them, every problem lands on their desk, and the moment they step away for the day, things start to fall apart. They built a business that was supposed to give them freedom, and instead they built a job that they can never clock out of. And I understand why this happens, because nobody ever teaches business owners how to actually build systems. They learn how to sell, how to deliver, and how to hustle, but the part where the business runs without them constantly holding it together gets left out entirely. So they end up doing everything by hand forever. But running a business and building a business that runs itself are two completely different things. And the gap between them is where most business owners burn out, stay stuck, and quietly cap their own growth for years. Through my work building automation and AI systems for businesses, I've watched the same pattern over and over, where the owner doing everything manually is exhausted, stuck, while the owner who built the real systems has a business that handles the routine work on its own and frees them up to actually grow. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to build systems so good your business runs itself, what those systems actually look like, and where to start so the business stops depending on you for everything. Everything here comes from what I've actually watched, actually worked inside a real business. So the first thing we need to understand is why the owner becomes the bottleneck in the first place. All right, I know you're wondering, like, how does the owner become his own bottleneck in the business they built? Well, as simple as this. Typically, when the owner starts out and they have things as far as, I started this whole company, everything that they do is out of necessity of the business, and it's pretty much budget that they have or lack thereof. So most people, when they are starting out this journey, they have to take on certain tasks before they bring other people on to get some momentum in the actual business, and also not only get momentum, but to understand and learn how their business will actually function in the marketplace. Now, you might be saying like, well, I mean, I know I've experienced that type of thing when I first started my business, so I understand like the necessity of the owner knowing how to do it. But yes, that's a great thing when you're starting out. But what happens typically after you started out and you've seen a little bit of success in actually being the owner and starting everything is because you eventually become the bottleneck. And I know you're like, how do I become the bottleneck? But you become the bottleneck because everything is in your head, every process, every SOP, the way you onboard, the way you are to communicate to your clients, the way you actually start a workflow, all of that is in your head. And you got to think about it, not just in your head, but you are the one having to answer the phones, or you are the one having to do the manual follow-up. And all that says is that you are limited in the time, especially if you want your business to grow. And so if you become the person that everything falls on, then your business begins to come to a breaking point, because the breaking point is if you don't actually do it, then the business does not move. This creates a business that will never function without the owner, because a lot of people, they want a business that they can just have on autopilot, or they have a business that their dream is it not to need them for everything. But the reality of that, they never get to that point because they never access that they could actually be the bottleneck from it going forward. And while when you started out with everything and you started out knowing how to do everything, while that was great when it started, in order for you to go to the next level or the next dimension, you have to understand and become more aware that it's possible that this could be you. You could be the bottleneck in your own success. And while it was important for you to know and do everything in the beginning, you have now become the actual limit to your business growth. So what does a bottleneck actually cost a business? Well, first, the most obvious is the time. And time is the most valuable thing that a business owner owns. The reason why is because in their position, as they begin to scale and try to move the company forward, they are doing mundane tasks that takes away from that time. And the business has difficult times moving forward because the person that should be leading the business to scale is now caught up in tasks that are wiping out the rest of their days. And so if you're getting caught up in those things in regards to time and your business, then those things with time actually lead to leaking revenue. And the reason why it leaks revenue is because while you're in the business trying to fix something, that means leads are not being followed up with, calls are going unanswered because you can't take on more business, and opportunities slip away because the owner is too busy to get to them. This caps growth entirely, and it's no way for the business to actually scale because two things in the business that are so important to monitor are tied to one individual, which are time and revenue. This is why many businesses hit a ceiling that has nothing to do with their market and has everything to do with the owner being the actual bottleneck. So the owner is the bottleneck and it's costing more than most realize. The fix starts with understanding what a real business system is, because most people get this part wrong. What a real business system actually is. A real system is actually a repeatable process that does not need the owner to produce the outcome. This is different from most people that call themselves entrepreneurs or people that are actually self-employed, because you gotta understand, most people see themselves as business owners, but in turn, the business actually owns them. The reason why? The business does not move unless they create the output. For it to be a true system, it can actually be handed to a person, a piece of software, or even an AI agent and still run reliably, because the process itself is what does the work and not the owner. This is the core shift that changes everything, moving from doing the work yourself to building something that does the work for you. Why do most owners get systems wrong? Because they think it's about writing everything down on a sheet of paper. That is great that you have everything down on a sheet of paper. That's a start, but we don't want to stop there. Or they try to buy a piece of software and try to fit it into their system, which doesn't work because the software was made generically for other people's systems as well. A system is not just a tool or just a trend that you just bought on in your business. It's a process designed around a specific outcome the business needs. That's why the best systems, they actually start from a problem. You might think that most businesses or things like that are started from a passion or started from some type of thing where people just want to spend money on because they want to spend money on it. No, it starts with an actual problem, not the technology. By first identifying where the business is losing time, missing opportunities, or creating friction for customer. Friction meaning that it's difficult for a customer to either understand the product or actually get through the workflow of the actual business to where the customer is fulfilled from what they paid for from the actual business. And most people make the mistake buying these different tools as far as trying to improve their business. But a lot of times the issue with buying the tool is that they don't really understand what the problem is in the actual business. So they end up having to work backwards instead of moving forward. Just because you make something that's innovative does not mean that it solved a problem in your actual business. So a real system solves a real problem. The first place almost every business owner is actually losing time and money is one most owners never think to actually look at. The first system every business needs, handling calls and leads. For most businesses, the phone and the follow-up is where revenue actually leaks out every single day. And the reason being is because either they have to have someone there to answer the phone, and if they don't answer the phone, or if that business owner don't answer the phone, then that person has to leave a message, and then if that message doesn't get answered in a timely fashion, and then they're on to the next business or the next person that would have their solution. Missed calls, slow follow-ups add up to a huge amount of revenue loss that the owner never even sees, because they don't have a system in place to actually take care of those things that they know are going to happen. They know that calls are going to come. They know that they're going to need to have a follow-up. But if they are manually doing these things in a time and a world where we have so much technology actually available to take care of these things, they are not realizing how much revenue they are leaking. But let me sympathize with the business owner and you. The reason why I want to say that is because you are already stretched thin. The reason why you're stretched thin because you're already tied up with trying to fulfill for clients, trying to run your teams, trying to make sure admin work is done, trying to make sure the highest valuable work that you need to get done in a day. And you can't possibly do that and bring other revenue in at the same time. This makes calls and lead handling the highest point to start at, since fixing it captures revenue that the business is already paying to generate. A strong system makes sure every call gets answered, every lead gets followed up with, and make sure that none of this is dependent on one individual person being available at any given moment. This is exactly where AI voice and AI systems come into place, handling routing calls, qualifying leads, and booking appointments around the clock without a person on the line. A well-built system handles a business a specific way it actually operates, including its real call flows rather than a generic one-size-fits-all setup. The businesses that put this system in place stop losing the leads they worked hard to attract, which often pays for the entire system many times over. Now that you see why calls and leads are the first system to build, if you want help building a system like this for your own business, click the link below to book a call where I'll show you exactly where your business is losing time and money and how to fix it. Let's keep going. How to know which systems to build and in what order. The most important thing when trying to figure out where to start is to understand first, where is the business either losing time, missing opportunity, or creating a bad experience for their clients. The highest priority systems are the ones that are usually tied to revenue, like capturing leads or serving clients, because those produce a clear and immediate return. Mapping the business this way stops it from being an overwhelming process to being a clear process that only takes one session with the owner to actually produce this. So you build them in order of impact. The last piece is what the business actually feels like once these systems are running, because that's the whole point. What it actually looks like when a business runs itself. So the routine work gets handled automatically. So the calls get answered, the leads get followed up with, all without the actual owner having to do anything. And the customer gets served, all without the owner having to do anything. The owner's days get shifted from having to do busy work to doing things that actually needs their attention in that day or that week. The business keeps running smoothly, even if the owner had to take a day off, because everything is built and is running off an actual system. This is actually the freedom that most business owners dreamed of, but now they actually get to live it out because they put a system in place, and they are now carrying the load of the actual business that somehow the owner seemed like they couldn't get out of. Now, I know what you're thinking, that this is probably only for big companies, but that could only be further from the truth, since tools and systems to automate are now available to companies of any size. Let me tell you something. The barrier was never technology, but it was always figuring out the problem that could be solved in your business first to actually improve the system and how it runs, because right now you are the system. And so what that looks like is knowing how to identify the right problems and knowing how to build the right systems. And after the owner finally sees their business as a system instead of a pile of tasks, they personally have to handle, the whole thing becomes buildable. The owner that makes this shift ends up with a business that supports their life instead of consuming it, which is exactly what good systems are supposed to produce. Now that you see what's possible when the systems are running, let's bring everything together so you can see how to start building this for your own business. The first move is just to be honest with yourself. Where are you in mapping this journey for yourself? Where are you in this particular bottleneck? You need to list the tasks that happen only when you make them happen. The second move is identifying where the business is losing the most time, money, or opportunity, which tells you exactly where a system will pay off. Third move is building that first high impact system, usually around calls or leads, so the business immediately stops leaking revenue it worked so hard to create. The fourth move is building that next system. Once the first is running, working through the business one system at a time until it stops depending on you. The ones who succeed at this are the people that stop seeing themselves as a person that has to do every task and start seeing themselves as a person that builds actual systems. They start from real problems in the actual business and stop chasing tools, which is why their systems actually produce results. They build deliberately high impact systems, one system at a time, instead of trying to fix everything at once and getting overwhelmed. The result is a business that handles all the routine work on its own and frees the owner to actually grow instead of a job that depends on them to run it every single day. Now that you've seen how to build systems so good your business runs itself, why the owner becomes the bottleneck, and where to start so the business stops dependent on you for everything, you can stop being a thing that holds your business back and start building the systems that let it finally run on its own. If you want help building these systems for your business, click the link below to book a call where I'll show you exactly where your business is losing time and money and how to fix it. I'll see you on the next video.